Constitution is that it can always be changed. The genius of the Constitution is that it makes no permanent rule other than its faith in the wisdom of ordinary people to govern themselves.
Faith in the wisdom of the people is exactly what makes the Constitution incomplete and crude.
Crude? No, sir. Our founding parents were pompous, middle-aged white farmers, but they were also great men, because they knew one thing that all great men should know, that they didn't know everything. They knew they were going to make mistakes, but they made sure to leave a way to correct them. They didn't think of themselves as leaders. They wanted a government of citizens, not royalty. A government of listeners, not lecturers. A government that could change, not stand still. The president isn't an elected king, no matter how many bombs he can drop, because the crude Constitution doesn't trust him. He's a servant of the people. He's a bum. Okay, Mr. Pitcairn? He's just a bum. And the only bliss that he's searching for is freedom and justice.
Hello everyone. Once again, this is Dare to Speak. And in this video, I just want to say that part from the movie With Honors, in which Joe Pesci did an awesome speech. And since there's a lot of truth to that, there's also something else that that a lot of you probably don't even know, that maybe you don't know. And that's that the founding fathers of this country, a lot of them, or most of them, if not all, were atheists and agnostic. So when they actually made the Constitution, the thing that most people don't realize is that they didn't believe in God. They didn't believe in the devil. They knew that the church was corrupted. Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, and with Thomas Paine being involved with them, it goes to show you that what makes this country great, especially from their time, compared to now, but from their time, was because of that fact. During the time of Thomas Jefferson, in the early 1800s, Christianity was not really that widespread. There wasn't that many people going to church during that time. It wasn't really all that influential. It wasn't until later on in the century, in the 1880s and so on, going towards 1900 and past 1900, where it became more and more influential and became more widespread throughout the country and then throughout the world, or actually spread. One example, it spread all the way over to China in 1900, or even before that, like around 1897, 1898, when Christianity was being introduced to convert the Chinese people into Christianity, because in order to save their souls and stuff like that, which is not really the case. It's because they just wanted to build their empire of this mind-controlling institution. So they considered the Chinese to be in danger of losing their souls, which is just a stupid cop-out. All it was a pretext in order for them to put their bullshit religion, this dangerous, mind-controlling institution, to the country of China, which later on, that along with other reasons, but which led to the Boxer Rebellion, which I could strongly sympathize for the Chinese in this one. So even people like John Adams didn't want Thomas Jefferson to hire any European professors during his time, because he said if you hire any European professors, they're liable to believe in Christianity, and that is a very dangerous doctrine that we need to stay far away from. It's not that they didn't have any respect for it. It's not because they were heathens or anything like that. It's because they knew that Christianity, and I mean, not just them. I mean, like for example, even now, Judaism and Islam are not necessarily off the hook. They're also just as bad. Maybe not as bad. In some sense, they're just as bad. But the only thing about it is, I mean, Jews keep to themselves, and they're pretty picky about who they actually, put into their faith. Members, as far as recruiting members into their faith. Muslims are pretty much the same way, in a sense. They don't try to recruit as many people as possible. Christianity does the opposite of that. They try to get as many people as possible, like recruiting, trying to, using a pretext by saying we're in danger of losing our souls. You need Christ in your life. You need Jesus. But what they're really doing is trying to recruit as many people as they can. The founding fathers of this country, of America, of the U.S., were atheists and agnostic, and they favored science over religion. And that's what made this country great at that time. And now, unfortunately, it's not a good country. It's not a great country anymore. It hasn't been for a long while. But it can become a great country again. We just have to follow the examples of Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Paine, John Adams. We have to follow from their example. Those are the real true patriots. I mean, George Washington also at the same time too. As far as I know, I don't think he was an agnostic or atheist. Or maybe he was, but just didn't want to admit to it. I don't know. I don't know what the case is with that. But those people are actually the true patriots of America. And now it's all different. So that's just a message I wanted to give out to you. In the beginning, with that speech with Joe Pesci, is just an example of how things should be. But unfortunately, there's just too much corruption. John F. Kennedy is a perfect example of how this country should be. He was a great president. I'm not saying he was perfect. He did have maybe one or two flaws, but aside from that, he was a great president in my book. So to all of you, drop a comment. Just tell me what you think. Any questions, whatsoever. The same old. And all of you, take care.